Right.
Welcome, everyone. Bonita, good to see you. Dennis in Venice. Terry Terry Robinson is in Reston, Virginia. Roger is comfortably ensconced in Spain, along with Diana. They're having internet issues. Paul is in Virginia. I hope you got a good connection this morning, Paul. Sometimes you scare me because you ought to and don't. And then
Sometimes I scare myself.
Yeah. Henriette is in there. She's muted. I'll unmute her. All right, unmute yourself, Henriette. I'll quit doing it. No, I can't unmute her anyway. And Jacqueline.
Here, I unmute myself. Here I am. Good morning, everybody. You're not seeing my face because it's too ugly this morning.
All right.
Welcome, Jackie. We're glad you made it.
Jackie is, and Jackie, I presume you are in St. Croix, correct?
I'm still in St. Croix. I'll travel next week, yes.
All right. How much rain did you guys get? We got a bunch.
Oh, that's good for you. Yeah, I'm really concerned. We did get a lot of rain, but there's still a lot of people without roofs. So even though some of us are praying for rain, we have to be, I know there are others that are not.
Yeah, to be mindful of those who don't have gutters. I've got half gutters, and those who have roof.
Yeah.
Last night we had over a half inch of rain here in St. John and Cruz Bay.
Oh,
yeah.
nah.
It's great to hear you, Jackie. Last week I bought 2 truckfuls of water, and then of course it rained this week. So I'm still thankful for it, though.
Amen.
It's dry in St. Martin as well.
No, St. Thomas.
No, but Bonita said something.
I said in St. Martin, we also got the heavy rain the day before yesterday.
Oh,
good.
good.
Now it's dry now, so.
Tropical wave.
Yes.
I'll report that South Florida is getting quite a lot of rain, and we got rain yesterday because I washed my car.
That'll do it. All right.
Now the kids wouldn't have to write on the back, Dennis.
Yes. I have no Rotary minute this morning, so maybe we will take a minute of silence. No, I can fill that in. Dawn?
We kind of do have a Rotary minute, perhaps, because Barry did present in St. Croix. I thought we were going to try and have our member there give us a brief report, but I'm not sure I see her. Dennis?
Jackie was
Jackie.
And,
Jackie, could you give us a brief on that?
And tell us about the baritones.
Oh, yeah. There's our Rotary Minute. It's our president in the district.
I'm doing a little screen this morning. Yeah, but it was a great time. Barry came in, I believe it was Friday, I think, and there was a gathering on Saturday at the Buccaneer where all the Rotarians got together to meet and greet him. So it was more of a meet and greet event. And then after that, on Sunday, there was the official meeting at Government House where we had the governor and some other representatives from the Congresswoman's representative and some others that were there to speak on their behalf and to welcome the RI president. We also had the district governor who attended with him. So the district governor was also on island as well. Michael Simmons, one of the charter members, he lives in St. Thomas now, one of the charter members of Rotary West, came from St. Thomas with his wife, who's president, I believe, of one of the St. Thomas clubs. came over and presented the RI president with a gift, which was a golf bag. So they brought that with him and presented that to him. And again, I'm going to go back to the official meeting, which was on Sunday. We only had 2 days with him. The others, I would say more of the DGs, the PDGs, and the DG and AG, and they had dinners with him on a regular basis. I kind of mentioned that I think everyone should have been invited, only because he's here to represent all of us. We all would have liked to have participated, but anyway, that came from my lips to one person's ear, but I think it was too late in the game at that time. Again, it was a wonderful time, the time that we did have to spend with him. It was just a Saturday evening and Sunday afternoon, and that was the extent in which all of the members had an opportunity to meet and be with their RI president. And basically that's it. And the baritones, of course. I hope you all enjoyed the video that came out in regards to that. But then we had several rehearsals with a young man. His name is Tariq, who played the organ and was supposed to help promote youth. He was a young guy, just graduated out of high school, and it was originally Rupert wanted a young person or a young group to perform. Unfortunately, with school out, it became very difficult. And he remembered that we had Rotary Mid-Isle rather, had created a Rotary song for their 20th anniversary, and he asked if I would do it because I had the words for it. And the only opportunity we could bring youth into it was to have Tariq play the keyboard for us. So again, a great time, a great event, and we all enjoyed it.
Yeah. The real hitch in the attempt to get people from around the district to dial in live, they'd put out that email inviting everyone, but unfortunately, those of us who work off of Firefox at least didn't quite discover that it wasn't compatible with Firefox. We needed to change our browsers in order to have it maybe work. So we thought it was going to go over, and then it just never opened. And so a bunch of us who tried to attend over the internet weren't able to make that work, but we appreciated the thought, and I think it's just part of ongoing. We can help the district in reporting back on when things work or not, and making suggestions. I know that was a government of the Virgin Islands site, so we have no control over that, but we can at least give them some advice. I'm sure
neither do they. Neither does the government of the Virgin Islands. Barry's speech was excellent. He continues to amaze me with. He is the inspiration, and so he was inspiring.
It would be lovely to put an alternate access posting up if that's possible. If it's not, to at least put up with a caveat. You really need to open Explorer to be able to see this thing.
You know, we tried that, Dawn. Amaryllis wanted to do a separate link, but because those that were organizing the event felt that because we did have one link, we wanted to promote that. So that's what Amaryllis, she had no other option but to move that forward. But it was discussed, and the final decision was just what we got.
I totally get that. We need to support our local governments as a Rotary Club whenever whenever it's possible. I know in this case it really wasn't, but what choice do we have? But for replays, for archiving, if it's possible to get an archive copy, or was that live only and then
it should be available on YouTube.
It's videotaped, and they have been playing it on the government channel in the Virgin Islands, both St. Thomas, throughout the Virgin Islands, because I was told that St. Thomas did see it as well. So it is a tape version, and again, some of the members are going, I guess the lead people, the organizers, are going to get a copy of the tape as well. So there's a tape available.
Well,
All right.
all right.
We have a program this morning, I understand. And it's Diana has a pertinent thing to share with us. Right, Diana?
Yes, I do, John. But my bandwidth is really very weak. So
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. Okay. This is a Rotary International webinar. I may well have time to play all of it, but I think there is some content that we will find interesting in terms of how we want our club to look and what impression we want to make on our visitors, our new members, and anyone who has an interest in our club. So, John, if you would roll it, and we want to interrupt while it's happening.
Greetings to everyone who has just joined us for today's webinar on making a good first impression. We have participants from across the globe, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are enjoying Rotary. First impressions really do matter, and they can help pave the way for an exciting, vibrant membership experience. My name is Jennifer Jones, and I'm a Rotarian in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Today, joining me are several talented presenters who will share best practices and help us generate ideas to strengthen Rotary. Eric Liu is a immediate past district governor in the Rotary Club Memorial Spring Branch in the Houston area of Texas. Kathy Fahey is a past district governor as well. She's from the Rotary Club of Iowa Great Lakes Spirit Lake. And Jason Brown is from the Rotary Club of State College downtown. So they'll all be participating in just a few moments with some exciting things that they're going to share with each of you. So let's get started with seeing things differently. So you walk into a Rotary Club or a Rotary event, and what do you expect to see? This photograph here is a traditional or a typical Rotary meeting. So I'd ask you to type a one-word response into the question panel with what you feel like this meeting looks like. What does it look like to you as you look at this photograph? One word about what it feels like. Scrolling down here, stuffy, static, formal, business, too formal, lots of formals, regimented, intimidating. So I think we're getting a fairly good cross-section of a response that this is a very traditional approach to a Rotary Club meeting. So, you know, if we're thinking about switching it up a little bit and making our clubs a vibrant experience, what if we were to perhaps look at something like this, or like this, or even some Rotaractors in action, for example, or this final one here. How about this? What is the Rotary that we want to show to the world? We've had to make a switch in how we view ourselves and how we explain our good works to others. We don't want to showcase ourselves in photographs that are in a static pose. We want to share that we're active and that we're taking action. We want people to see that we're making a difference in our world. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind when you're taking photographs for print or social media. Think about how to photograph something that makes you happy. When photographing groups, meetings, or events, get closer. Don't have a lot of extra room around them. Get the action right in the photograph. Discover a moment. You know, find that action. What is the thing that's happening that really you want to focus on? Use Rotary's voice and style. We know from all of the research that we've done that we are smart, compassionate, persevering, inspiring. We unite and exchange ideas, and we take action in our communities. So every time you post a picture, just know that you need to be putting Rotary's best foot forward. A couple of years ago, we, as I mentioned, conducted some global research as part of our efforts to strengthen Rotary. We reached out to hundreds of thousands of Rotarians and others to see how they define their experience. There were 3 key findings that I want to share with you today, and I think these are game changers for how we approach and create the Rotary experience. First, we're leaders by mindset, not by title. Now, why is this important? Well, younger leaders entering our organization are not necessarily the senior leaders of their company, but are they leaders who have a lot to offer? You bet. Secondly, we're all about connectivity. It's the enduring connections that we make with like-minded people all over the world and in our own clubs. And finally, we're not defined as community service or international service. The reality is Rotary is a community, and the reality is we have the ability to scale globally. And that's part of the magic of what we offer to people in being a member of this great organization. So, what's today's call to action? We want you to consider every interaction an exciting opportunity to engage, to educate, inspire, and amplify Rotary's message. At the end of this session, we want you to be able to identify resources that are available for attracting prospective members and engaging them as soon as they join. That's so important. We want you to be able to highlight the ways that Rotary is different from other service organizations in our interactions with prospective and new members. And we want you to be able to take a fresh approach to creating a meaningful club experience for prospective and new members, and longstanding members as well. So I'd like to introduce now our first presenter, and that is Eric Liu. Eric is a member, as mentioned, of the Rotary Club of Memorial Spring Branch, Texas, and he is going to share with us some exciting details about the new campaign that we've just launched, the People of Action campaign. So please welcome Eric.
Hello, Jennifer. Thank you.
Hi, Eric.
So I'm really thrilled to be here to talk about a new ad campaign from Rotary International, the People of Action campaign. It is really what we've been waiting for a long time, a flexible, adaptive, and catchy public image tool we all can use. But before we start, let's do a poll to see what you think is important for you to do today to improve the public understanding of your club. So let's look at these questions. What do your club need right now? Now, is it a brochure about your club? Or you need to develop a sales pitch for your club? Or have someone in your club with marketing skill to do these work? Or do you simply need some online courses to learn more? For example, you can always go to learn.rotary.org. So think about it. Well, I can see that there's people selecting all 4 of them, and the major one is develop a single sales pitch for the Rotary Club experience. Well, I can tell you this, you don't have to worry about anything with the new campaign, People of Action campaign, because with the new People of Action campaign, you can do all of these above at Rotary.org and go to the brand center. Now, if we look at the survey done by Rotary International, since 2013, Rotary has put in a lot of effort to improve the public awareness of what Rotary is. As you can see, the public awareness went from 60% to 75% in 3 years. When 3 out of 4 people heard of Rotary, it sounds good. But if you dig deeper, the people that understand what Rotary is still very low at 35%. Only 1 out of 3 people don't know who we are, don't know what we do, don't even know that we are one of the major forces to eradicate polio from this world. How are we going to grow our membership? As a matter of fact, more than half of the people surveyed don't even know there is a Rotary Club in their community. So because of all these reasons, we are not getting the full credit of our good work. Now, we're not trying to brag about our achievement, but we do need to earn the full credit of what we do so we can reach our full potential, and in turn, to enable us to do more work in our community. Nowadays, with every person has a smartphone. We live in a society with advanced technology. People from elementary school to retirement community are all exposed to many different types of social media. The world of knowledge is all on their fingertips. So how do we start, and where do we start? If you look at all the viral videos, either populars or widespread, there is one common factor. They are all either telling their story, showing people what and why they are doing something, or what they are thinking or feeling. Personal experience or feeling get through to people instantly. So knowing this, what do we need to do to compete with the rest of the world? Well, very simple. We just need to tell our story. Our story is one of the most powerful tools we all have. Rotarians have many experiences that will touch people's heart instantly. Most of the members have their stories, but sometimes they have difficulty to share or showcase it out to the public. So how do we lay that out to the media or to the public? Well, don't worry. I definitely encourage you to go to Rotary.org and go to the Brand Center. There you will see many tools you can use to promote your club and club activities to the general public. The exciting new People of Action campaign is actually on the left upper corner of that page. There you will find many ways to use this newly designed campaign. Now, the People of Action campaign is designed to help you showcasing your club and your projects to the public in a clean, to-the-point statement to instantly attract people to your stories. We tell them who we are, what we do, why we do it, and how we transform the world by our action. You can see the statement on the screen. Our goal is to attract people at the first sight of our statement. And with this simple, unified message around the world, people from everywhere will know what Rotary is all about, not just aware of our existence. So the goal of this campaign are very simple. We want to help narrowing the gap between the people from aware of Rotary to actually understand Rotary. Also, we want to create an image to let people know what Rotary is and the impact Rotary makes. We also want to inspire our members to get them engaged so they will donate their time and resources so we can do better work to make a difference. It will also allow the Rotary Club to localize the ad to fit their targeted audience. We all know that rural or urban club cultures can be quite different. This campaign will allow you to customize your information to meet the local needs. So now look at these simple yet very powerful images. These are the image of this campaign we want people to see. Together, we connect. Together, we inspire. Together, we transform. And finally, together, we end polio. We are people of action. There will be many formats you can choose to create a strong message to use for your community. Again, simple, straightforward, yet strong message in the style is the style of this campaign. Now, if you do it well and use the right way to raise the public awareness of your club, good public image can increase your club membership, raise money, or resources for your project to make a difference in the world. Public image is really the tide that will push for both membership and foundation. So after hearing this, what do we need to do next now that we have the tools in our hand? Well, after this webinar, when you meet with your club members, I want you to ask the club to do a few things. Number one, build a team in your club. Have someone that can do social media or press or radio, depends on your club's background and your club's need. And then spread the word out about public image. Include public image components in all your committee meetings, planning, and training sessions. And also gather the stories from your members and share them. Most of the senior members sitting in the back of the room in every meeting, I guarantee you they have great stories they can tell you. And then last, go to the Brand Center and get familiar with the public image resource and tool. There's so many good things there. I can't stress more to ask you to go to the Brand Center and look it up. By doing this, we can all be a Rotary champion. And again, I want to remind you to go to the Brand Center and check out the People of Action campaign. New material will be coming out in the next 18 months. So keep checking. You will always find something new every time you get on Brand Center. So let's go out there, make a difference, make a great impression, and let people know our Rotary Club. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Eric. Eric, what's the first thing that folks who are listening to us today can do to become people of action?
Well, first of all, I think they need to, most people ask, how do they come up with a sales pitch? I think they need to find out what's their club's focus. Some club focus on literacy, some club focus on water project, and it all depends on your club. Find something that your club loves to do and find a great verb and then use it so we can say, together we end polio, or we help literacy, or provide clean water. Come up with something catchy and straightforward and simple.
That's great, because I think yeah, it really says that we can customize it and make it something that resonates that within our club. So that's wonderful. So thank you, Eric. Appreciate everything that you've shared. You're definitely a person of action and a great champion of social media. And if you aren't connected to Eric on Facebook or Twitter, search for him and you make the connections so that you can stay in touch later on. I'd now like to introduce you to another dynamic Rotarian, and that's Jason Brown from the Rotary Club of State College Downtown. He's going to share with us how we can shift our thinking. Jason, over to you.
Thanks, Jen. There's been a lot of great discussion about the image that we portray. We've talked about touching hearts instantly and telling our story. And the images that you portray today in your club and in your district may be in need of an update. Maybe it needs some refreshing. Maybe it needs to, as this picture shows you, to transform. Also, like in this picture, it looks, let's talk about it for a second. It looks like there's a team coming together to transform a community. You get it pretty simply just by looking at it. Sometimes in our clubs, we get stuck in doing the same thing over and over again. And my first impression, just by looking at this picture, is that her smile is that this is something fresh and something new. To get your club to this point, to capture a photo like this, you may have to think differently, act differently. But to think differently, you have to understand who you are as a member and as a club. So to explore your understanding, let's head over to the poll. All right, folks. Now, asking you to be completely honest here, and no one's going to really see the results except for us, would you consider your Rotary Club to be emotionally intelligent? What is emotional intelligence? Simplified, it's using your brain and your heart when you're taking action. So go ahead and hit up the poll. Let us know what you're thinking. Does your club display emotional intelligence? It looks like a lot of you think, at least, that your club is displaying a high level of emotional intelligence. That's awesome. That's very cool. And we'll get to talking a little bit more about that in a little bit. I do want to just point out, there's a great book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. If you want to do a little bit of research after this, we'll provide a link to that so you can find out some more information. But before we get into the definition of emotional intelligence, I have one more question for you. What does the public see when they see your club? What does the public see when they see your club? When they see you doing club projects and club activities and social media, and they see the traditions that you have, or maybe the formalities, what do they see? When current club members, potential new members, community partners, other Rotarians, youth, young professionals see you on social media, what do they see? If you are not acting with joy, purpose, newness, fun-filled energy, almost shown in that first picture, it will come through and it may prevent you from reaching the highest potential of your club. So how do we get there? How do we shift the thinking in our club? How do we change what people see? The first step, I think, is being more emotionally intelligent. So what is emotional intelligence? I'm going to throw a few terms at you, but we'll simplify it. Self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, relationship management. But that's a bunch of complicated terminology, so let's simplify it. Emotional intelligence is being aware of the true identity of you and your club so you can act intelligently and emotionally. That way, when you're sharing all the wonderful things from the brand center, your personality and your club really shines through. You got to use your brain and your heart when you're taking action. Being analytical, thinking logically is incredibly important. Being emotional, speaking from the heart is also sometimes forgotten, but equally as important. And when you put them together, that's when the real magic happens. That's when you are emotionally intelligent. Some clubs start off with strategic plans, and some clubs may have retreats. I say it starts with an honest discussion with your members about how they feel about where you're at as a club, how they feel about what you're doing. And when you understand ourselves a little bit better, we can step out of our bubble of Rotary, think differently, and really shine. So, when we think about that picture at the beginning of this section, her emotions were on display. Her club intelligently chose a project that related to the personality of the club. Her club intelligently chose to capture that moment and share it on social media. And prior to the project, her club intelligently, actively sought to understand her desires, her emotions, her wants, her interests, the community's interests, so that they could all come together. And as a result, her emotions were on display with joy, purpose, newness, and fun-filled energy. It's my belief that her club really understands her and their club and their community, and not just going through the motions. When your club captures you in action via social media, and of course using the brand center, are you taking action with joy, purpose, a sense of newness, and fun-filled energy, or are you just taking action? Just taking action by itself isn't enough, because when you capture that action, the real you, your identity as a club, comes through. So when new club members, when potential club members, current club members, community partners, other Rotarians and youth all see those images, while it may look like you're doing and saying one thing, they all might be seeing something very different. Even on a subconscious level, they really see who you are. Now, in the images that you portray in your discussions, what do people see? Your club might think it's inclusive. Your club might think you're thinking differently. You might claim to be having fun. You might think you're saying yes to new ideas, yes to new projects, a bigger club, more impact. But are you really saying yes, and how do you really know? Emotional intelligence helps us out. The first and most important step, and this is the understanding of your club, is self-awareness. Where is your club emotionally? Where is your club mentally? How do you feel? Who are you? Second is self-regulation. It's how do you modify your behaviors? So once you begin to understand who you are emotionally and mentally, how do you modify your behaviors depending on what your club is doing? How are you changing your approach to how the community feels? Maybe one thing that was impacting the community last year, there's a new thing impacting the community this year. How are you managing your own self-awareness of your club to address those concerns? How do you address the successes, the failures, the difficulties, the meetings of the club itself? How do you handle all of this stuff when your true mission is to be serving, service above self? And last but not least, how do we recognize others? And how do we respond to social media, new members, and new ideas? Are we saying yes? It may sound like we're saying yes, but what are we really saying? If we don't start at least with that self-awareness part and take that first step, you're not reaching the potential as a club, and you might be saying the wrong message. So if you look a little bit closer, if you look into the yes that you seem to be saying, it might actually be saying no. So the underlying feeling, even though you're not saying it outright, people are going to understand through the imagery that you put out there, the social media you put out there, everything you do, your actions, your projects, all will have this underlying feeling of no. And until you really understand who you are as a club and who you are as a member within that club, that underlying feeling of no will always be there. It's going to take for that self-awareness for you to understand, to be emotionally intelligent and pull it all together. For reaching your club's potential, to think differently, to acting differently, to making sure you have an event where you can capture a photo like the woman on that first slide who was smiling and joyful inside of the community, you got to get rid of that no. You have to make sure we understand who we are as a club before we can really use that brand center and use all the wonderful images that we have in our club to really connect with our community and shine through and connect with the folks who can really bring Rotary to the next level. And when you understand yourself, you can begin to not just have this underlying no, you can begin to say yes and. Like a real yes. Not just like a maybe yes, but like a real yes. A yes that shows progress and allows you to really transform your community. Self-understanding and awareness allows you to create first impressions that increase membership, bring energy to your club, increase foundation giving, and bring awareness of Rotary inside of your community. Once you understand who you are as a club and proceed with emotional intelligence, a lot of change can happen. There's one thing to go to the brand center and, you know, grab some new fonts and grab some templates and, all right, well, I guess we'll use them. It's not enough. You got to understand who you are as a club first, then act emotionally intelligent and really put that stuff all together with the brand center. And then when people are seeing it, you out in public, people are seeing this in the newspaper, people are seeing it on social media, they really understand who you are in Rotary. And that's when we begin to think differently. And that's when amazing things happen. So it doesn't matter how you approach this. You can do it in a very complicated way, but it first starts off with a discussion. Who are you as a club? Do some investigation there. And once you begin that, some fun times can be had ahead. So the next time somebody says, hey, there's an event that we do know about and that we can do, you're saying yes and to it. Maybe it's polio. The next time somebody says to your club, hey, maybe this is an event that you don't know about, but we're saying yes and to it, and it resonates with the club. Side note, this picture right here that you're seeing, the one that just popped up with all those boxes out in front, this was an event that was introduced to the club. And we had the conversations of who are we? And when this idea came across, we said yes and we ran with it. And members of our club are saying that this is some of the best fun they've had in the club in a long time. We said yes and to that. Whether it relates to social media, if somebody's like, hey, I don't know how to use the Twitter, I don't know how to use the YouTube, let's not do it. That's not a yes and. Take that, run with it, say yes and to it. Maybe it deals with meeting people. Say yes and to the conversations that you're having. It might be somebody who you've never seen in a Rotary Club before. Maybe it's a profession you're not familiar with. It's that yes and that brings you to the next level. And those conversations within your own clubs, the board meetings, the committee meetings, the meetings that you got to have to make sure Rotary is really moving forward. Say yes and within those. And of course, when that all comes together, that's when you really can make sure that you have those fun times ahead. That's really when everything comes together. And when you're sitting on Brand Central and you're communicating these images out to the public, they get it. They understand service above self. They understand who you are as a club. They understand that we are here to do a lot of good. So, in summary, there's a few things I just want to mention just to bring it home. First, understand your club's identity. Find out who you are. Have conversations. Investigate yourself first. Because if you don't understand that, then the images you portray are not going to convey the most that it can possibly convey. Second, once you begin to understand who you are as a club, build your club's emotional intelligence. You know, you got to act with your heart and in your mind. And when you bring those two together, you can make some solid decisions for your club. And last but not least, say yes and. When new ideas are presented or a new way is coming across your table, when you have the understanding, you have the emotional intelligence, the yes and allows you then to begin thinking differently about how you approach all the activities within your club. Emotional Intelligence 2.0 is the book I mentioned earlier. It's by Travis Bradberry. It's a good book to get you started on emotional intelligence so that you can begin transforming your own club. So thank you very much, Jen. Thanks, everybody. Hopefully this was solid for first impressions.
Thanks, Jason. So I mentioned in your introduction that you are currently serving as a Rotary Club president. I'm curious to know, what have you done this year to increase your club's emotional intelligence?
One of the things that I struggled with as a president was people just saying, okay, we've always done it this way. We've kind of always done it this way, so we're going to keep on doing it. And we've been growing despite that. And it was important for me to have the club do a little bit of homework and understand what are the activities, the products that we're doing, community service-wise. Are they still relevant? Are they still impacting the community in a great way? Is everybody still having a good time? Are the due structures set up the right way? What means a lot to you in this club? We had an external person come into our club and begin that conversation. And I call it like a mini strategic plan. They came in, they began asking some of these questions, and we've begun the conversations to allow us to figure out who we are so we can better use our efforts to do the maximum amount of good in the community.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jason. And thank you for serving this year as the Rotary Club President. I've enjoyed watching your progress. Thanks. So now we're going to take what we've learned, and we're going to learn how to turn our dreams into action. So I'd ask you to please welcome Kathy Fahey from the Rotary Club of Iowa Great Lakes. Kathy, over to you.
Thank you. Well, as Rotarians, together we inspire. It's our nature to not only inspire and help others through the projects and all the efforts that we do, but it's also our goal to inspire other Rotarians. I'm going to share with you how I personally was inspired and how a project was born because another Rotarian believed in some of those crazy ideas. But first, we have a quick poll question for you again. Let's take part in a little magical thinking for a moment. If you were given a magic wand, which of these actions would you take first? Increase your membership, be more diverse, do more meaningful service, raise awareness and inspire the community, or have more fun? Wow, I see a lot of you want to raise awareness and inspire the community. There's quite a few different things going on here, but raising awareness and inspiring your community is exactly what ties into the story that I would like to share with you. I'd like to share a story of how a magical idea became a reality. Almost 3 years ago, I was lucky enough to be a part of a Rotary International Young Professionals Summit held in Evanston, Illinois in the USA. This was like no ordinary Rotary event. There weren't round tables. There were mismatched couches and chairs when you walked into the room. There was Play-Doh and crayons and various things on the table. We spent 2 days sharing ideas about engaging young Rotarians and quite honestly, thinking differently, finding our own unique path. We walked away inspired from that weekend, but to be honest with you, we weren't sure what we should do next. So a few months later, I had a conversation with RI Director Jennifer Jones about presenting at our Zone Institute after the event. After we talked about that, the presentation itself, Jen challenged us to come up with an idea of something big. He told us that no dream was too crazy, but it has to be about raising awareness for Rotary, and in particular, making us look cool, hip, and relevant. So out of that, a crazy idea called Rollin' with Rotary was born. A gentleman by the name of Jason Brown, who you've already heard speak today, Marie Fallon, Adam Barth, and myself, were 4 individuals who came up with an idea, this crazy idea of hopping into an RV and going around to communities and areas just to share the Rotary story. Our main intention was to connect with Rotarians and non-Rotarians, to stage media events, do random acts of kindness, participate in service projects, and overall showcase a great organization that we all know and love. We hopped on this RV, and our tour had one amazing impact. Over the course of 10 days, we created over 5 million impressions of Rotary through events from State College, Pennsylvania to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Many of the locations in between, we stopped and did a variety of things, including Evanston, where we handed out reusable bags at a train stop during busy travel times. Evanston had recently banned plastic bags in retail locations, so this was an opportunity for us to do something that meant something to the local community, while at the same time sharing the story of Rotary with those people passing by. We made sure that we had genuine interactions with people throughout that event. Another event on our trip included a motorcycle escort to benefit the Wounded America Project. Over 85 motorcyclists escorted our Rollin' with Rotary RV tour from Taylor, Michigan to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where we eventually ended the day with a polio march across the University of Michigan campus. This project was literally pulled together within a week. Each biker made a donation to be a part of the event, and at the end of the hour ride, we had raised over $11,000 for the project. People along the route stopped and watched and took photos of us and asked what Rotary was about. I share this story with you for two reasons. Because it's a great example of partnering with another organization to make an impact. Also, to say that sometimes we don't do projects in Rotary because we may get overwhelmed with the planning or the meetings or the, oh my goodness, this is going to take so much effort. This was an event that we pulled together very quickly, like I said, within a week, and it was very successful. Sometimes you just need to follow your instinct if you have an idea and run with it. In Perrysburg, Ohio, we were part of a water walk that a local club organized. We walked from a community park through downtown with buckets, and we went to the river. There were different sized buckets, so there were smaller buckets for kids, larger buckets for adults. And we filled those buckets at the river and walked back through that same downtown, a quarter of a mile, to raise awareness of how far women and children in many countries need to go each day to get clean water. Along the way, we had local people that stopped and asked us what we were doing and asked us about Rotary. So we were able to share our story, not only locally, but what we're doing globally. One lady even asked me how she could get involved in Rotary from the event. She wanted to become a member. This was just a way of us showing and leading by example of what the great things that we do with Rotary and then telling our story from that. Another project that we did, we were in Detroit, Michigan, and once again, we found, actually this was on the Windsor, Ontario, Canada side, but we were next to the Detroit River. Finding like minds and partnering with organizations is key. So in this event, we partnered with Shelterbox for an event in Windsor, Ontario. We got water directly out of the Detroit River, and we drank it after we filtered it with a Shelterbox filter to show the effectiveness of the supplies we send to areas when a disaster strikes. We also set up the Shelterbox tents along the shore for the public to see and to show the impact that Rotary is making. We made this a live media event. Newspaper, television, radio was all there to help raise awareness not only for Rotary, but our partner of Shelterbox as well. The really amazing part about this was we were showing that we believe in the products that we're sending out there to help these areas, and it was very impactful that here we were drinking water directly out of the Detroit River, and we weren't worried about any contamination or anything because of the filters that Rotary helps supply. So why do I tell you these stories? Not only on this excursion did we make 5 million impressions through social media and traditional media, and with our personal interactions along the way, we shared the Rotary story. But I tell you this because someone believed in our ideas and gave us a chance and said yes to us. You don't have to do a trip like we did or do an extravagant event like this. You can take any of these ideas and use them in your club or district. Think outside the box and try new things. If something doesn't work, it's okay. Try something else. But the point is, if someone comes up and has a new, fresh idea, use Jason's advice and say yes and. Don't just say, oh, we've tried that before, or that's not going to work. It'd be amazing how many times a fresh approach of something can change an attitude and can gather more support around it. So don't be afraid to try. Show what Rotary is all about and the impact that we can make, because really we are people of action.
Thanks, Kathy. And you know what? I love looking at this photograph of you guys all smiling, and I really enjoyed being able to join of action. And I'm interested in your thoughts of what people can do, the folks that are listening, to become people of action in their clubs and outside of that as well.
I think the key with being people of action is we know that Rotarians, we already know inside that our Rotarians are people of action. We can tell that just by the projects that they're doing in their local communities, the impact that we make. Now we need to share that with those around us. It's a great It's a wonderful thing. If you're inviting someone new to your club, to invite them to a project that you may be doing, not necessarily because you want the free labor to help do the project, but because you're showing them the impact that you're making as a club. And hopefully when you're finding those like minds, then you are making that great first impression that we're not just a group that sits around a table once a week at a meeting eating lunch together. We are a group that we may do that, but it's also to form the ideas, to get out in the public, and to really do those things that make a difference and move the needle in the world. And that's really how we can show everyone that we are people of action.
That's awesome. Thanks, Kathy. The final component of today's webinar is about the amazing resources that are available to you and are right at your fingertips. And following this component, we're actually going to go to a Q&A session where you will have the opportunity to type in questions, and our panelists will be able to respond in real time to some of the things you'd like some more information about. So our final presenter is Nancy Wright, and she is a talented member of Rotary International's membership department at our headquarters in Evanston. She is a dynamo, and we are lucky to have her on our team. So please welcome Leanne. Leanne?
Thank you, Jennifer, and all our wonderful panelists. I'm thrilled to be with you today to talk about the tools that we've developed to help you make those wonderful first impressions. But we know that our resources are only as great as the impact they can make to your work in the field. So let's get a better understanding of your challenges by taking yet another poll. So thinking about your biggest challenge, maybe even in your regions, your clubs, what's your most pressing challenge? It's probably a mix of things, but try to identify one. Is it attracting new members, engaging your existing members, growing both new clubs and club size, or understanding flexibility options? So take a second and think about that. All right, so let's see what you would do here.
Well, it's
okay, it looks like engaging existing members.
Engaging existing members was the biggest thing. Okay, it's a little long, but I think that I hope that it's given us all thoughts.
Very thought-provoking.
And the ending there was that what do you need to do? The primo thing was engaging existing members. And once we're all engaged, we will all be inspirations. Dawn? Thank you, Diana. Over to you, Dawn.
Okay, yeah, it's 10 o'clock. I think we have some speakers already set up for next week, so I'm not sure if we can get in the last piece, but if you go to Vimeo, you either go to Rotary, learn.rotary.org, and look for First Impressions Matter, the membership experience, or look it up directly on Vimeo. On the Rotary training channel, they have a whole channel there, and if you search for First Impressions Matter, the membership experience, you'll find the video if you just want to see the rest of it on your own. Thanks, everyone. I think I did get some interesting thoughts from that kind of build on what we discussed earlier. And hopefully we can think of things like, how do we use our butterfly storybook and promote that instead of just saying, come and meet with us on Saturday, show people how they can get involved with that and kind of use that as a hook on a fundraiser and all that kind of stuff. And we can kind of develop those ideas as we go forward. It's 10:02. Thank you, John. Everybody can kind of cut and paste. John and Diana gave us the link to that video in the chat notes section of this, and we will cut and paste that and put it into the notes for this meeting so people can get back to that if they want to see it again or see the rest. We may also see if the Wednesday happy hour, if they can show the back half of this, that might be another good venue because it's another resource for us. So I want to close now since we're starting to run a little over with the four-way test. Do we have a volunteer or shall I just lead? I don't see any hands. So the things that we think, say, or do, Is it the truth?
Is it the
True.
Is it
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it
fair
fair?
to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Better friendship.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial?
And will it be fun?
It will be fun.
Beneficial to all
And don't
concerned.
wear socks.
Don't wear some.
And to Rotary around the world.
Rotary around the world.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye all, we'll see you next week.
Take care.